Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to cover how to read art and culture effectively for UPSC Prelims 2026 examination. So as part of the video, we'll be covering the book list. With respect to book list students, what are the must-read NCERTs, and especially with respect to new edition of NCERT, we'll be telling you what are the selective chapters you need to necessarily cover for art and culture segment. And with respect to question paper analysis as part of art and culture discussion, we'll be covering 2023, 2024, 2025 art and culture prelims questions, and we will also look at what is the pattern of art and culture in the last 10 years in UPSC prelims, and what are the recent trend change which is happening especially in art and culture segment, and what strategy you can successfully adapt to crack the art and culture questions for UPSC prelims 2026. So these are the things we'll be discussing, so stay tuned till the end of the video to get a good clarity what is the approach you can take successfully for the art and culture segment students. So first we will discuss the book list. With respect to book list, we will be first covering what are the must-read NCERTs. So if you look at the 6th standard Exploring Society, India and Beyond, in this particular NCERT, looking at the theme C, you need to cover chapter number 7 and chapter number 8. These are very important for your art and culture segment. And coming to the 7th standard Exploring Society, India and Beyond, in this theme C, chapter number 8 can be covered. Then coming to the 10th standard NCERT. So in this India and the Contemporary World 2, you need to necessarily cover only the chapter number 5, Print Culture and the Modern World, where literature segment has been given in a very good manner. You need to make notes out of it to effectively revise and remember for examination. Now coming to the 11th standard NCERT, I would say this is the most important and heartbeat of your total art and culture segment, because this book is going to be not only important for your prelim students, it is also going to be a very important book for your mains also. So you need to not only read this book, try to make notes out of it, and try to even make notes out of the diagrams which are given in this particular book, which is going to be very important. So you need to cover all the chapters, but the most important among this would be the temple architecture and Indian bronze sculpture, where repeated questions has been asked in prelims and mains in the past. And now coming to the 11th standard NCERT, one more recent addition. This is a new edition of NCERT students. Only from 2019 onwards, this book has been published by NCERT. So if you look at this particular book, Knowledge, Traditions and Practice of India, here you need to only selectively read for the preliminary examination, especially the chapter number 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 and chapter 4 can be covered from this particular book. And while reading the chapter number 5, only the modern astronomy evolution in India, only that can be covered in this particular chapter, and chapter number 6 and 7 that can be left off. And while reading the chapter number 8, you need to have a good understanding especially of the metals, like how it has evolved in India. You can look at the timeline, and with respect to yoga, you need to study especially the schools of yoga, only that is important for preliminary examination. So these are the things you need to cover, especially from this 11th standard Knowledge, Traditions and Practice of India. This book is going to be very important, especially if you look at the language and literature of India. This literature segment, if you look at the UPSC prelims examination in the recent trend, lot of questions has been asked from this particular book only, students. So kindly have a good read and hold of the literature whichever has been mentioned. So make notes out of it and try to remember it effectively. Now coming to the 12th standard NCERT, again this is also a new edition from NCERT from 2020 onwards only. So this book has been particularly written only to cover the painting aspect. So any questions if it is coming in prelims or mains from painting aspect, you should not get surprised, because that can be picked only from this particular book only. So try to have a good look and try to make notes of the major schools of painting whichever has been mentioned in this particular book, which is going to be important for your preliminary examination. So these are the must-read NCERT students, and the most important NCERT, as I have mentioned, is only going to be the 11th standard, that is an introduction to Indian art. Remaining NCERTs are also getting, like in the recent trend of examination, they are getting good weightage. So you need to make notes especially regarding the literature segment, and there is no need for you to cover any particular textbook. If you are doing any textbook, means that is going to be a like not at all a good way of approach for the preliminary examination. What I will be suggesting to my students is only to read the NCERTs in a thorough manner and try to make notes and try to revise the previous year questions. Especially while covering the PYQs, you can cover from 1979 to 2025 only the art and culture segment preliminary examination questions. So you can answer most of the questions which can be asked in coming year also, students. Let's now look at the UPSC Prelims 2025 Art and Culture segment question. This particular question is asked from especially Dancing Girl at Mohenjo-daro. It is made up of. So this is particularly asked from the Art and Culture basic NCERT only students. That is the 11th standard NCERT. Now coming to the second question, the Gandharva Mahidalaya, this is a music. So this is a recent addition, recent trend change which is happening in UPSC Prelims because before they used to ask only dance and then that to classical dance, and then they used to ask some basics of literature, and then related to architecture, temple architecture and cave architecture questions only will be coming, students. But the recent evolution which is happening in prelims is they started asking on music, which is available in the new edition of NCERT of 11th and 12th standard, which I have discussed. Now let's look at the 2024 UPSC Prelims exam questions. So here again they are asking one more question on the literary works only. This is also available in that 11th and 12th NCERTs. So if you look at this particular question, this is asked from especially a Buddhist monk. So they are asking he is the author of which book. Again, this is also pertaining to Buddhist literature things, which is also available in that NCERT. If you look at this particular book, this particular question, again with respect to Gautam Buddha, they are asking what are its epithets. So all these are available in your basic NCERTs only, students. Now let's move on to the fourth question. Here they are asking us to match archaeological site with the description, whether it is a Chalcolithic site, megalithic site. All these are also available in your basic NCERTs, which you can easily remember. Inam Gan and all directly available. If you could make notes out of the NCERTs while reading, then you can easily answer this question, students. Let's move to the fifth question. There are no parables in Upanishads. Upanishads were composed earlier than Puranas. Again, a literature-based question. So this sixth question, which one of the following was the latest inclusion in the intangible cultural heritage? This is a recent trend change which is happening in UPSC preliminary examination, students, because UPSC is trying to bring in especially current affairs segment in the art and culture segment. So this is also an evolution which is happening. So while reading especially the newspapers, you need to make separate notes for the UNESCO's, especially the heritage site, that is the intangible and tangible heritage sites list, so that can be asked in the UPSC prelims examination. So if you look at it, one more question on UNESCO World Heritage Site. So that's what I am saying. This is a recent trend change in UPSC prelims examination. Let's now move on to the 23. That is the year of UPSC prelims art and culture segment. So in this particular question, they are asking about Danya Kataka. So that explored as a prominent Buddhist center. If you look at this art and cultural segment question, students, overall, lot of stress has been given only to Buddhism and Jainism related art and cultural literature aspects. So what I will be advising for the students who are preparing for coming year is give maximum attention to Buddhism, Jainism literature, architecture, and as well as there what are the other contributions, basic philosophies of Buddhism and Jainism for prelims examination. So let's move on to the next question. So here they are asking about a question related to Buddhas, especially the stupa, that is the architectural component. In this particular question, they are asking about Vatakirital. So again, related to Sangam literature or poem. This is also going to be very important segment for art and culture segment. Let's move on to the next question. With respect to ancient history, again, they are asking us to match the literature work, which I have been repeatedly telling. This literature is going to be very, very important for prelims, and most of the questions are asked only from your NCERTs only, not from any textbook. So don't go on unnecessarily waste your time in reading like apart from NCERT any textbooks. Stick your preparation to basic NCERTs for art and culture segment, students. Let's now move to the next question. So here they are asking about the basic philosophy. So this particular statement given is related to Buddhism or Jainism. What I will be telling is you can eliminate the directly two options only, because in UPSC examination, lot of times in art and cultural segment, they will be asking questions either related to Buddhism or Jainism only. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following pairs. So here they are asking us to match the cave architecture. That's what I am telling. Cave architecture and temple architecture both are like repeated themes in UPSC prelims in art and culture segment. So let's look at the trend analysis in the last 10 years in UPSC prelims examination. In 2025, this year, only 2 questions has been asked from art and culture segment. But in the last 2 years, especially in 2024, 7 questions. 2023, 6 questions has been asked. And if you look at the overall in the last, especially 10 years, the maximum number of questions has been asked in 2018, 7 questions. And recently in 2024 also 7 questions. So maximum you can expect 7 questions. And minimum is this year. That is 2 questions which came. So you can expect at least 3 to 4 questions in the coming 2026 preliminary examination from art and culture segment, and we can easily predict the areas also. Let's look at the repeated themes from 2023, 2024, 2025 art and cultural segments. Means UNESCO heritage sites they are asking, tangible, intangible. Dances questions are coming, especially classical dances, and literature lot of questions are coming. And paintings they are also asking. And with respect to theatrical, you need to have a good hold of Indian theatrical text. So where a lot of questions has been asked. An architectural component give maximum weightage to Chola temple architecture and cave paintings. So all these are repeated themes in the UPSC preliminary examination in art and culture segment in last 3 years. Now what strategy you can adopt for coming year students? That is what going to be very crucial. What I will be suggesting to my students is give maximum weightage to temple architecture, cave architecture related components. And while reading the literature, kindly make notes out of it, because here only factual question can be asked, no conceptual segment. So you need to remember the factual segment. So try to make a good hold of Buddhism and Jainism literature where a lot of questions can be asked, and Sangam literature also. Then while reading the classical dances, try to have a comparative analysis of all the classical dances and try to make notes for the tribal dances. Mural painting is only going to be very, very important from the total painting related concepts. And with respect to music, try to read Hindustani and classical music and trying to differentiate also between these two musical school students. So these are the important expected topics which we can expect for the coming year 2026 preliminary examination on art and culture segment. In addition to that, if you have any other challenges in reading art and culture segment, you can comment in the comment section below. We will try to give feedback on that. Thank you, students.